And we welcome to the stage Chandra Sparks Splond of Black Fiction Addiction.
Yes.
That is, I love that. I love that. It's such a catchy title. I love how you've progressed. You started off as an editor for Good Housekeeping magazine, and
Yep.
then you progressed to being an editor for several New York Times and national best-selling authors along the way. You were also Michael Bazin's editor. That's how I met you,
Mhm.
because I was very rude, and I didn't realize that I read The Maintenance Man, and I was like, well, hell, I can do this. And I actually said that to him when I called him, but he was gracious because he should have probably cussed me out. But he was gracious enough to give me three things to get started in the industry. That was you, that was the cover designer, and that was the printer. And I used two out of the three only because the cover designer did not contact me back. But I will tell you that it has been an amazing journey that you started with me. And I always go back to that time because there was a lot going on in your life, but the literary thing has been solid. And you went from editor to author to YA author to blogger. I mean, it's just all of these hats, and wife and mother. So how are you juggling all of these different hats now?
Day by day. If you can tell now, I'm in the car because it's my daughter's spirit night. So I'm sitting here waiting on her to finish up while I'm doing this.
And that's why you're coming in and out. You just muted. You're coming in and out. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
How much longer does she have to do her spirit night?
Well, they finished at 7. So since I was supposed to start at 7, I told her to go ahead and grab food so that we could get this done.
Okay, because if you had let me know, I could have switched your time. I'm sorry.
No, it's nothing to be sorry about. I don't mind. I'm happy to be here. I hope y'all can hear me okay.
We can. You fade out a little bit. You fade in and out a little bit, but we got you. So everybody's saying good evening, Chandra. Somebody said those facial expressions are priceless. Ooh, my face needs saving and convicting. Okay, King Brooks said we can hear you. He's got next. so so how are you juggling all of this?
Um, by the grace of God, is definitely by the grace of God. I'm typically up around 4 o'clock every morning. I go to bed maybe around midnight.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just full days, you know. There's a lot that needs to happen. So you do what you have to do as long as you have to do it. So I'm just in that season of life where a lot is going on, but I'm not complaining because it's a blessing, you know, to be working and busy during this time. There are a lot of people who don't have jobs. So the fact that I'm still actively working and doing things, I'm absolutely not complaining. And I remember, you know, when I first started, when I was praying for what I'm doing now. So how dare there's no way I can complain. I'm very, very grateful. Um, as far as how I do everything, I'm a firm believer in doing stuff in small increments.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I live my life by doing stuff in 15-minute increments because, you know, if you think about, well, I have to write a book, you know, that becomes very overwhelming. If you think about, oh, I have to get all these blog posts out, that's overwhelming, or I have to edit this manuscript. So but if I break it down into little bitty chunks, you know, who can't find 15 minutes to do something? You'll spend 15 minutes on social media, if not longer than that. So, you know, that's what I try and do. I say, okay, well, I'll just work on this for 15 minutes. So in 15 minutes, I can get a blog post written. I can get images designed. You know, there's just so much that you can do in that time. And when you get more done when you're actually focused on getting stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think we've all had those experiences where you sit at work all day and you really don't get anything done, and then you go home for like an hour and do something that you really love, and that time flies by. So it's the same thing with that 15 minutes. You know, I get a lot done in that time that I otherwise wouldn't get done throughout the day.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So you know I'm gonna have to hit you with that question. You know I did it. I'm not gonna. Nope. Your top three
My top three book
reviews.
reviews. Well, see, here's the thing. I actually don't do book reviews. I do book recommendations.
Okay. So give me your top three recommendations.
I love the Prototype series by Jacinta Howard. That's one of my favorites. I also love Imperfectly Happy by Sharina Harris. And then I love the Sienna St. James series by Leslie Sherrod.
Okay, okay. How does an author approach you to become one of the books that you recommend and to get featured on Black Fiction Addiction?
They can just email me. They can email me. My email address is blackfictionaddiction@gmail.com. So they can email me. They can message me through Instagram or Facebook. People do that all the time. And just, say that, ask if I'm interested in checking out their book. And I'll typically, read the synopsis about it. And if it's something that I think people will be interested in, I'll request an ARC or galley for it, just to see what the story is about. There have been a few times that
Your sound is going in and out, so I don't know if it's a matter of. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, right there. That's a good. We can hear you.
Okay, and I haven't even moved. That's so funny. My apologies, everyone. But you can email me at blackfictionaddiction@gmail.com or through Instagram or Facebook. And just share that you have a book that you're interested in me talking about. I do a book of the day every day. I also do weekly new release roundup. So if you have a new book coming out, feel free to send me that information and I'm happy to share it with people. Typically I stay away from doing like urban fiction, but for the most part, most genres I'm kind of open to. So just reach out to me. I think recently there was one that I turned down because the book was only like 30 pages and the author was charging like $20 for it. Yeah. So I declined that one. But if there's any way that I can help you spread the word about what you're doing, then I'm happy to do that. So
wait. Okay. 30 pages, $20 for 30 pages.
Yes. Yeah.
In what universe is that even correct?
Yeah, let's unpack that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So somebody asked that earlier. Is there anything besides quality that you judge on? That answer that you judge on based on how you're going to review a book. Is there something other than quality you just did? That makes absolute sense. I wouldn't want to put my name on a book that's $1 billion for 30 pages.
And then
not a billion.
What'd you say, Terry?
She said $1 billion.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're looking at the page count, it probably might as well be.
No, that's.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine what they would have charged if they actually had 100 pages in it?
Right.
Oh wow! So authors, that's one of the things that we're saying here is don't price yourself out of the market. Look at other books in your genre and what they are charging for their books. I generally charge between $14.95 and $15.95, $12.95, in that range. But my books are 200 plus. You got to give the value for the reader.
Right.
I'd like to. You're gonna have to inbox me that because I want to see how people are. I want to see the reviews on that one.
Yeah. It only had a handful of reviews, which that didn't surprise me because I mean, of he priced himself out of the market, absolutely. But that's just something to be aware of. I believe in treating people the way I want to be treated. In terms of, I'm not going to charge you $20 for a book, so I wouldn't do that to other people.
Yeah. Whoever that was, Carla Kennison bought the book. So Carla, you need to inbox me the name of that. I want to know who that is. She said, I tried to support an author a couple of months ago and paid $20 for about 30 pages. I said, never again. So she must have got a hold of your person. That means they haven't done their research before they put the book out. You know, even with ebooks, you know, I was kind of a little bit deterred that when Every Woman Needs a Wife finally went to ebook, Simon & Schuster priced it at $14.99. And, you know, when people get books for $2.99, $3.99, sometimes $99 or whatever, you know, I understand they're a major house, but I could see $7.99. I could not see $14.99. They charged it in that instance the same amount as a trade paperback. And I think they didn't understand the market enough. This was, you know, a few years back, but still they didn't understand the market enough that people are going to bypass it at that price because I can get three books for the price of one.
Right.
I mean, honestly speaking, they really haven't learned, because I mean, I can go to Amazon right now with regard to my book series. It's still with Simon & Schuster, and I know each one of them is at least $10.99, which still doesn't make any sense. And I've emailed them several times, like, okay, can you bring it down to like a, you know, price of coffee or something? You know, help me out.
Yeah, and they would have probably kept it up at that. See, you brought up an element that nobody else has brought up. That's why we're harping on this, in the sense that actually Amazon sets, they probably had to come down to even the $7.99, because remember there were those big lawsuits that happened, where the big six, when Amazon said, no, you need to price your stuff like this. And the big six was like, no, we price, these are our books and we're going to price them whatever. And Amazon said, oh, really? And they end up in a lawsuit about that, because Amazon.
Yeah, I think Macmillan pulled their whole. Their whole stack, if I remember correctly.
But see, that hurts the authors though. That doesn't hurt the publisher. That hurts the authors when they. But Amazon did one better. They scrapped a lot of authors from the major houses. They took their whole catalog, their catalogs for all of those authors from those houses while they were in litigation. They're like, oh yeah, this way. Let me show you, because what had happened was, everybody, all the big six publishers thought that Amazon was going to play fair. Amazon, and they handed the ebook market over to Amazon. They didn't create their own platforms. They thought Amazon was going to play fair, when Amazon has been playing the long game since day one. They undersold books, and they sold books at a loss. That's what put Borders out of business. That's what put Walden Books out of business. That was what put B. Dalton, all of those big major chains were put out of business because Amazon was selling less than market at that point in time, because they were playing the long game. If I can bankrupt you and get you out of the mom and pop stores, the black bookstores, if I can get you out of the way, then I can charge whatever I want. That's when that's why right now they're making the most money, because the platform that most people buy books on is Amazon. So they're a monopoly when it comes to that. And the big six thought that they were going to always play fair, and they didn't create their own platform for ebooks for their books, and they were at the mercy of Amazon. So that is your history lesson in the industry for today.
Absolutely.
You brought up an interesting point when it comes to pricing in terms of people not doing their homework. That was another reason I decided not to promote the book, because it was a huge red flag. There are a few times when you can tell when people haven't done their homework when it comes to publishing their book. And, you know, in addition to the pricing, typically if someone comes to me and say they have a book that's like 600 pages long, I already know it's going to be problematic. I mean, that's just real. And that's from, I've been an editor for almost 25 years. So that's just typically a red flag to me. You know, that they've either written too much, they're changing points of view, like they're doing something in there to have that much content for one book. There are a few people who do it, you know, who have a high page count and do it well, but there are others who don't. So that's something else to keep in mind. You know, it was just a red flag.
What other advice would you give to authors when they are seeking out your platform? But what do they need to know about their content before they even start reaching out to you or anybody else?
To have it professionally edited. That's always very important. To let for new authors, especially, I mean, let other people read your work before you put it out there. Not necessarily as an editor, but just as a reader, because, you know, your mama is going to tell you she loves everything you write, you know, so you need somebody who's going to be honest with you, who's going to tell you, well, you know, this, I'm really not feeling this. That stuff is very important. Part of the content too, you mentioned content, but covers are very important too.
Yes, teach on that.
A lot of people, I've seen a lot of folks who do homemade covers, like they'll let their child like draw the image, or you know, do it themselves and don't have a background, and you can tell because the fonts are all over the place, or the images aren't, you know, lined up. You can get a cover done on Fiverr, and it's fiverr.com for like $40. A very high quality professional cover. That's actually where I get all of my covers done, through Fiverr. So that's very important.
Cover design, not just the content. Before we even get inside.
Yes, it's true. I mean, people do judge books by their covers. So I mean, and not just the front cover, the back cover needs to look nice too. You know, your back cover copy needs to be succinct. I see people who have like, you know, 15 paragraphs on the back cover. That doesn't draw people in. You know, hit all your major points. You don't have to reveal the whole book. Just hit the major points, enough to intrigue people. So
Indeed. As an editor, so how can people contact you for editing? Because there are some authors, I'm a developmental editor, so mine is a little different. I do sometimes rewrites. I'm a teaching editor. So I wasn't an editor when I started. It was actually Susan Mary Malone of Malone Editorial that helped me with the process. And she told me I could edit. I'm like, I'm not trying to do that. But developmental editing, you're a content and line editing.
I do content, line, and copy editing.
Okay. What's the difference between content and copy editing?
Copy editing looks at the book's grammar, spelling, and punctuation. So the typos in there, you know, people, if you have a quote, what are you doing today? Some people have, you know, comma, and then they may or may not have a quotation mark to close it. Like fixing the punctuation and all that stuff. If on page 5 you said the woman has on a red dress, and then on page 10 suddenly the dress turns to blue, that's the kind of stuff that a copy editor would catch. You know, looking at the formatting, I do that too. You know, sometimes people will have 2 chapter 25s in there, so that's stuff that a copy editor catches. The content is looking at the content. You know, I look at a lot of how the story's developed overall. You know, do I like this character? Is there anything that's engaging about that character that makes me want to continue reading the story? Does the story flow well? You know, are there any like huge plot holes? Is there anything that just doesn't make sense? So I kind of cover all of that with all my different forms of editing.
So how can they approach you to edit their book?
They can reach me through my website, which is chandrasparksplond.com. ChandraSparksSplond.com. And I have a tab on there where you can ask to work with me. I typically do a free sample edit on 5 consecutive double-spaced pages of a person's manuscript. And you were laughing at me about that yesterday. But
has somebody tried that though?
Because there will be people who will send, you know, a page from chapter 1, a page from chapter 10. No, I need to look at the 5 consecutive pages. You know, if you're doing a children's book, that's a little different. I don't do 5 pages, 5 double-spaced pages. But you know, I typically do 1 page from a children's book. But those are that's how they can contact me. They can email me at csplond@gmail.com. So that C is in Chandra, S is in Sparks, and then splond@gmail.com.
Okay. So you got a whole lot of co-signers in the chat room. Tam Tellin Sales covers talk, ma'am. Carla Kennerson Patterson said yes. Radia Hubert, yes. And then Gillian Williams said, I'm ashamed. I certainly do. Summer Chapman, I definitely clicked on books with nice covers. Shavana, I pick my books based off of covers and titles. That is why I picked up Every Woman Needs a Wife. Tam Tellin tells me, I am folks. I judge books by the cover. Radia, the covers draw me in. Monica, I'm sorry, Shavana, I do too. Okay, I judge, who is this one? I'm sorry. I never realized how important editors were before I read books that needed editing. Hell, yeah. That is an amazing thing. And King said, I judge by the cover as well. I won't give it a chance if it's ugly. And you say your mama won't tell you if something's right. Let me tell you, my mama used to be that person. If there was somebody that put a baby near her and, you know, the firstborn or whatever, and she's like, she would say, oh, the baby could be ugly. Because sometimes when babies first come, they look like they done been through it till they, you know, catch up with their face or whatever. She's like, oh, the baby. So I think my mama, the rest of her soul, she probably would have told me of my stuff, but that is true. Don't just base it off of your friends and your family. They're not trying to hurt your feelings. We're not trying to hurt it either, but you'd rather your editors tell you your stuff is not together than you put it out there and the reviewers tell you that your stuff ain't together. Because then by the time it's out there and everybody else is seeing it and reading it and thinking it too, you want it when you can fix it. You can fix it things in the editing stages. It's harder to fix it when you got about 100, 200, 300, 400 people already got the book and they're like, okay, this is gonna go back on the, to be read. Because the thing about, if they can't read it, they're not gonna promote it to anybody, as well as they're not gonna pick up your next book.
Right. So, you know, as an editor, it's my job to be honest with you. I believe that there's a way to say everything, but I mean, I'll be honest, editing, having your book professionally edited is an investment. It is. It's not cheap. A good editor is not cheap. So I would be doing you a disservice if I weren't honest with you. And you have to decide what you want to do with that information, but you won't be able to say it's because I didn't tell you, you know?
That's true. And please inform, and this is the biggest thing I tell authors, no one editor can catch everything. You need more than one editor, a set of eyes on there, because major houses used to have a battle axe of editors that go through a book before it gets on the plate. So they used to have the acquisitions editor, the copy editor, the content editor, the line editor, the beta reader, the copyright editor, the person that's looking in there to see if you use something the wrong way with a major house so you won't get sued. So there's all these different editors and eyes, and then the betas, and then all of these things before the book gets in your hand. But now even the majors are, you know, cropping up with errors in there, the books published by a major house, because they're treating the books like rare beef. They, you know, smack it on his ass, walk it through the fire and put it on his plate. So you like that one? I like that one too. That's a good analogy. But there is, here's somebody saying, have you found that writers using Grammarly to write their stories have problems in their punctuations and even their storyline?
Absolutely. Yes, they do. And the same with spell check, you know, through Microsoft Word. You know, spell check will tell you if a word is spelled correctly. It doesn't always tell you if it's used correctly. And let's be honest, when we're dealing with Black stories, a lot of times words we use aren't gonna come up in spell check. You know, well, it might get flagged, but it's not telling you. It doesn't recognize our language a lot of times. So that's something to be aware of too. That's why it's important too. You know, I'm always going to support Black people when I can. If you're writing a Black story, try and find a Black editor. There are just some things that a Black editor will catch that, someone of another race may not. I was telling my daughter the other week when I was working for one of the publishing houses, one of our authors had submitted a story that had some line in there about underwear, and whoever the editor was, the copy editor was, had changed it to underpants. And I'm like, I don't know any Black person who says underpants. Like, why would you think that change need to be made? But that's why representation is important in all places, kind of stuff. I didn't think anything about seeing underwear, but that person did, and it was wrong. The change they made was just wrong. So.
Wow, wow, wow. We are going to tell us one more time where people can find you. And also, I'm going to also put you in the chat room after as well, so you can drop it into the chat as well. I'm going to put you in the backyard. Okay, hold on. Summer says, I've read authors with good stories that I haven't recommended because of the multiple grammatical errors. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
That happens a lot, and it's unfortunate. And a lot of times people have paid what they think is an editor to go over their work. And then, when they get it back or when they publish it, they realize, they thought they were hiring somebody to copy edit, and the person just did content. So that's why it's important. That's why I feel it's important to do a free sample edit, because I can tell you the people I've worked with, but it doesn't mean anything. You need to know what I do for your project. So that's why that's important. Again, people can find me at chandrasparksblonde.com. If you want to find out more about my editing. I have a list of some of the projects that I've worked on, as well as information about how you can submit for the free sample edit.
A lot of people don't realize it, but you used to edit for not just Michael Basin, who introduced me to you. You used to edit for some celebrities, as well as you edited for Elin Harris.
Yeah, I was Elin Harris's editor. I think we did 3 or 4 books together.
Awesome. Yeah. So this is the time to drop some celebrity names up in this camp. I think, was it Run Deep? No. Who?
I used to be the editor for BET Books Arabesque. So all the romance authors that were out, the late 90s, early 2000s, I've worked with most of them. A few of them I was blessed to help them launch their careers. So, yeah. And I worked with a lot of the publishing houses too, in terms of doing freelance editing. So I have 25 years of experience.
Indeed. Well, we thank you so much for stopping by tonight to talk with us on our first ever Reviewers and Bloggers Rock event. And this has been wonderful, a wealth of knowledge. Because the focus was for really on authors, because most times the Cavalcade, the focus is on authors connecting with readers. So we needed to give something to the authors too. So we thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it, and my apologies again if I cut out any. Hopefully you got most of the information.
Yeah, we will, and we're probably going to how can I say, take the nuggets off it, because there's a lot that we've learned in this process. Even I've learned, so it's been a wonderful time. So thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to put you in the backyard so you can drop the information in the chat room.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.